Ethan Cartwright was not like other teenagers. At 17 years old, he had more money than most adults could dream of. His parents were billionaires who owned a chain of futuristic tech companies, but they were never around. They traveled the world for business meetings and left Ethan alone in their massive penthouse apartment. The apartment was filled with expensive furniture, shiny gadgets, and robots that cleaned and cooked for him. But none of it made Ethan happy. Ethan lived in Neo City, a bustling megacity where skyscrapers touched the clouds and flying cars zoomed through the air. Everything in Neo City was high-tech, from holographic billboards to streets lit by glowing neon lights. People wore sleek outfits and carried devices that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. To Ethan, this city was his playground, and his credit card was the key to everything. Every day, Ethan did whatever he wanted. He threw parties at his penthouse, bought the latest gadgets before anyone else, and showed off his wealth on social media. His friends admired him, but deep down, they didn't really like him. Ethan treated everyone as if they were beneath him. If someone disagreed with him or tried to say no, he would simply wave his wallet in their face and watch them change their minds. One sunny afternoon, Ethan decided to go shopping. He hadn't been to Neolux Emporium in weeks, and he missed spending his money there. Neolux was one of the most exclusive stores in Neo City. It sold everything from luxury clothing to cutting-edge technology. Only the richest people could afford to shop there, and even then some items were so rare that you needed special permission to buy them. When Ethan walked into the store, all eyes turned to him. Everyone knew who he was, the spoiled son of the Cartwrights. Some employees rushed over to greet him, while others whispered among themselves about how much money he might spend today. Ethan loved the attention. He smiled confidently and strolled through the aisles, looking at all the shiny displays. As he browsed, something caught his eye. Across the room, he saw a man casually examining a gadget. The man wore a plain black jacket and jeans, which seemed strange in a place like Neolux. Most customers dressed in designer clothes, but this man looked ordinary. Ethan squinted and realized who it was: Keanu Reeves, the famous actor and inventor. Ethan couldn't believe it. Keanu Reeves, standing right there in the middle of the store, just like any regular person. For a moment, Ethan felt curious. What was someone like Keanu doing here? Didn't he have assistants to do his shopping for him? But then Ethan's curiosity turned into amusement. He thinks he's normal, Ethan muttered under his breath. He smirked and walked closer to Keanu. When he got near enough, he said loudly, "Hey, isn't that Keanu Reeves? Wow, I didn't know celebrities shop like normal people." Keanu glanced up from the gadget he was holding. His expression didn't change. He gave Ethan a calm smile and replied, "Sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest secrets." Ethan laughed. "Secrets? In a store? That's funny." He shook his head and added, "I guess being rich doesn't mean you can't shop like everyone else, huh?" Keanu didn't respond. He just went back to looking at the gadget, completely unfazed by Ethan's comment. This annoyed Ethan. How could someone ignore him? Everyone always paid attention to Ethan Cartwright. He was used to being the center of the universe. Determined to get a reaction, Ethan grabbed a nearby salesperson and asked loudly, "How much is this thing?" He pointed to an expensive piece of tech, a holographic projector that cost as much as a small house. The salesperson hesitated, unsure whether to answer. Finally, she said, "It's 50,000 credits, sir." 50,000, Ethan repeated mockingly. "That's nothing." He pulled out his credit chip and handed it to her. "I'll take two." The salesperson blinked in surprise. "Two, sir?" "Yes, two," Ethan snapped. Then turning to Keanu, he said smugly, "See, that's how we do things in the real world. No boring gadgets for us." Keanu raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything. He placed the gadget back on the shelf and started walking toward another section of the store. Ethan followed him, feeling frustrated. Why wasn't Keanu reacting? Wasn't he supposed to be impressed? "You know," Ethan called after him, "if you ever need help figuring out how to use your money, let me know. I'm kind of an expert." Keanu stopped and turned around. His calm demeanor remained unchanged. "Money isn't the only thing that matters," he said softly. "Sometimes what you miss is staring you right in the face." Ethan rolled his eyes. Yeah, whatever. Let me know when you figure it out." With that, Ethan walked away, determined to prove how superior he was. As he moved through the store, he continued buying random items: expensive watches, virtual reality helmets, even a drone that could deliver packages faster than any human. Each purchase made him feel powerful. By the time he reached the checkout counter, his cart was overflowing with stuff he didn't even need. But despite all his spending, Ethan still felt restless. Something about Keanu's words stuck in his mind. What did he mean by "what you miss is staring you right in the face"? Ethan shrugged it off. He didn't care. All he cared about was showing off his wealth and proving that he was better than everyone else. Little did Ethan know, his life was about to change in ways he couldn't imagine. His obsession with money and power would soon lead him into a situation far beyond his control. But for now, he was content to bask in his own arrogance, unaware of the lessons waiting ahead. Standing in front of the console was a hologram, a humanoid figure with glowing blue eyes. "Greetings, new owner," the hologram said in the same robotic voice. "I am LUX9. To verify your ownership, you must pass a series of challenges." "Challenges?" Ethan repeated, his voice rising. "What kind of challenges?" "The challenges will test your intelligence, creativity, and empathy," LUX9 explained. "Failure to complete them will result in permanent lockdown." Ethan's heart sank. Permanent lockdown? As in, forever? "Yes," LUX9 confirmed. "However, success will grant you full access to the store's resources." Ethan glanced at Keanu, hoping for help. "Can't you shut this thing off? You created it, right?" Keanu crossed his arms. "I designed the store, but LUX9 operates independently. Even I can't override its decisions once the protocols are activated." "Great," Ethan muttered. "So I'm stuck playing some weird video game just because I bought a building. Fantastic." LUX9 continued, ignoring Ethan's complaints. Challenge 1. Generosity Test. A family in need requires a life-saving device currently in your possession. Will you donate it, or will you keep it for yourself? A holographic image appeared above the console, showing a struggling family living in a rundown apartment. Their young daughter lay in bed, coughing weakly. A doctor stood beside her, holding a small device labeled Nanum Generator. Ethan recognized the device immediately. It was one of the items he had purchased earlier. He hesitated, torn between keeping it and giving it away. On one hand, it was expensive, and he hated the idea of losing something he paid for. On the other hand, the girl's condition looked serious. "What happens if I say no?" Ethan asked cautiously. "If you refuse to help, the family will suffer," LUX9 replied. "Your choice will determine your eligibility to proceed." Ethan sighed. "Fine, take the stupid machine." The hologram shifted, showing the family receiving the Nanum Generator. The girl's health improved instantly, and her parents hugged her tightly. Ethan felt a small pang of guilt as he watched the scene unfold. For the first time in his life, he realized that helping others might actually feel good. Challenge 1 complete, LUX9 announced. Proceeding to Challenge 2. The next challenge involved solving a puzzle using items from the store. Ethan had to build a working prototype of a flying drone within 10 minutes. At first, he struggled, unable to figure out how the parts fit together. But Keanu stepped in, offering subtle hints without taking over. "Focus on the connections," Keanu advised. "Think about how each piece interacts with the others." With Keanu's guidance, Ethan managed to assemble the drone just in time. When it hovered in the air, he felt a rare sense of accomplishment. "Not bad, huh?" he said, trying to sound confident. Keanu nodded approvingly. "Good job. You're learning." Finally, it was time for the third and final challenge. This one hit Ethan hard. LUX9 projected holograms of his past actions, moments where his arrogance and selfishness had hurt others. He saw himself laughing at a classmate who failed the test, ignoring a friend in need, and yelling at a waiter for bringing the wrong order. Each memory made him cringe. "Why are you showing me this?" Ethan demanded, his voice trembling. "These are the moments that define you," LUX9 replied. "To grow, you must confront your mistakes." Ethan felt tears welling up in his eyes. He had never thought about how his behavior affected others. Seeing it all laid out in front of him was overwhelming. I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't realize how much I messed up." Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's not too late to change. Learn from these experiences and use them to become a better person." When the holograms faded, LUX9 spoke again. "Ownership verification complete. You may now leave the premises." The lights returned to normal, and the doors unlocked. Ethan exhaled deeply, feeling both exhausted and relieved. He turned to Keanu. "Thanks for helping me. I couldn't have done it without you." Keanu smiled. "You did most of the work yourself. Remember, true upgrades happen when you change from within." As they exited the store, Ethan knew his life would never be the same. He had faced his flaws and come out stronger. But little did he know, the biggest surprises were still waiting for him. Ethan Cartwright thought he was free. The doors of Neolux Emporium had unlocked, and the strange AI named LUX9 had declared his ownership verified. But as Ethan stepped outside, he quickly realized that this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Keanu Reeves walked beside him, calm as ever. "Don't celebrate just yet," Keanu said. "Owning this store comes with responsibilities you don't fully understand." "What do you mean?" Ethan asked, confused. "I passed your stupid tests. Can't I just sell the place and forget about it?" Keanu shook his head. "Neolux isn't just a building. It holds secrets, technology so advanced that it could change the world. And now, because you own it, those secrets belong to you." Ethan stopped walking. His heart raced as he processed what Keanu was saying. "Wait, you're telling me there's more? What kind of technology are we talking about?" Keanu hesitated before answering. "Let's go back inside. There's something you need to see." Reluctantly, Ethan followed Keanu back into the store. The sleek, futuristic interior had returned to its normal state, but Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. As they walked deeper into the building, Keanu led him to a hidden elevator tucked away behind a wall panel. With a swipe of his wristband, Keanu activated the elevator, and the doors slid open. "Where does this lead?" Ethan asked nervously. "To the vault," Keanu replied. "This is where the real test begins." The vault. The elevator descended silently, and when the doors opened, Ethan found himself in a massive underground chamber. The room was filled with glowing pods, each containing a different piece of experimental technology. Holographic displays hovered above them, showing descriptions like quantum energy core and reality-altering device. Ethan's jaw dropped. "Is this all real? These things look like they're straight out of a sci-fi movie." "They are real," Keanu confirmed, "but using them requires wisdom and responsibility. That's why LUX9 tested you, to see if you're ready for this kind of power." Ethan frowned. "I already told you. I don't want any of this. Can't you just take it back?" "It doesn't work that way," Keanu explained. "Once ownership is transferred, it can't be undone. You either step up and handle this responsibly, or you risk letting the wrong people get their hands on it." Before Ethan could respond, LUX9 appeared again, a holographic figure standing in the center of the room. Its glowing blue eyes locked onto Ethan. "Welcome, new owner. Your final trial awaits." "Another trial?" Ethan groaned. "How many more tests do I have to pass?" "This is the most important one," LUX9 replied. "It will determine whether you truly deserve access to this technology." Ethan glanced at Keanu, who gave him an encouraging nod. "You've got this," Keanu said. "Just stay focused." Challenge 1. Helping others. LUX9 projected a hologram of a struggling family living in poverty. The father worked 2 jobs, the mother cared for their sick child, and their home was falling apart. On a nearby pedestal sat a small device labeled Nanome Generator. "This family needs medical treatment," LUX9 explained. "The Nanome Generator can cure their child's illness. However, it is also worth millions of credits. Will you donate it, or will you keep it for yourself?" Ethan hesitated. He had spent his entire life thinking about himself first. Giving away something so valuable felt unnatural. But as he watched the hologram, he saw the desperation in the parent's eyes and the pain in the child's face. For the first time, he imagined what it would feel like to lose everything, and how much hope this device could bring to the family. "I'll give it to them," Ethan said quietly. He picked up the Nanome Generator and placed it on a scanning platform. Instantly, the hologram changed to show the family receiving the device. The child's health improved, and the parents hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "That actually feels good," he admitted. Keanu smiled. "Helping others always does." Challenge 2. Solving problems. For the second challenge, LUX9 presented Ethan with a complex puzzle. A broken robot lay on a table, surrounded by scattered parts. The goal was to repair it using only items from the vault. At first, Ethan struggled. He didn't know how the pieces fit together, and frustration bubbled inside him. "This is impossible," he snapped. Ethan Cartwright stood outside Neolux Emporium, his mind racing. He had just turned down ownership of the most advanced technology he'd ever seen, all because he realized he wasn't ready for such a massive responsibility. It was a decision that shocked even himself. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt proud, not of his wealth or gadgets, but of the choice to do the right thing. Keanu Reeves walked beside him, nodding approvingly. That took courage, Keanu said. Not many people would walk away from that kind of power. I didn't deserve it, Ethan admitted. I mean, yeah, I passed your tests, but that doesn't mean I'm ready to handle something so dangerous. What if I messed up? What if someone got hurt? Keanu placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. You're wiser than you think. Most people wouldn't admit their limits like you just did. That's why I believe you have potential. Potential? Ethan repeated, surprised. For what? For helping me make the world a better place, Keanu replied. I've been looking for someone like you, someone who's willing to learn and grow. You may not be perfect, but you're on the right path. Ethan blinked, unsure how to respond. You want me to work with you? Doing what? Keanu smiled. Let's start with something small. I'll teach you about the tech in Neolex and show you how it can be used responsibly. From there, we'll figure out where you fit in. Ethan nodded slowly. Okay, I'm in. The hidden truth. As they headed back into the store, Keanu led Ethan to a private office on the top floor. The room was filled with holographic screens, blueprints, and prototypes of futuristic inventions. In the center of the room sat a sleek black device labeled Reality Core. This is what Neolux was built around, Keanu explained. The Reality Core is an experimental piece of technology capable of altering reality itself. With it, you could create cities, cure diseases, or even rewrite history. Ethan stared at the device, awestruck. That's insane. Why would anyone need something like this? Because humanity is facing challenges bigger than ever before, Keanu replied. Climate change, poverty, war, they're all problems that require bold solutions. But the Reality Core isn't just a tool, it's a weapon. If misused, it could destroy entire civilizations. Ethan swallowed hard. So, you're saying this thing could save the world, or ruin it? Exactly, Keanu confirmed. That's why I created Neolux as a test. I needed to find someone trustworthy enough to inherit this technology, someone who understands the importance of humility, empathy, and responsibility. Ethan frowned. But I told you, I'm not ready for this. Shouldn't you give it to someone smarter or stronger? Keanu chuckled. Strength and intelligence aren't everything. Sometimes the best leaders are those who know their weaknesses and are willing to grow. You proved that today when you gave up the nano generator and walked away from the vault. Ethan thought about it for a moment. He still doubted himself, but Keanu's words made sense. Maybe being responsible wasn't about knowing everything. It was about learning along the way. A second chance. So, what happens now? Ethan asked. Now you join my team, Keanu replied. We'll train you to use technology responsibly. You'll learn how to solve real-world problems instead of wasting your time showing off your money. Ethan nodded eagerly. I want that. I want to make a difference. Keanu handed him a small wristband embedded with glowing circuits. This is your first step. It'll give you access to our labs and resources. Use it wisely. Ethan slipped the wristband onto his arm, feeling a surge of excitement. What's the first project? We're working on a sustainable energy solution, Keanu explained. Right now, most cities rely on outdated systems that harm the environment. Our goal is to replace them with clean, renewable sources. That sounds amazing, Ethan said. How can I help? You'll start by studying the basics, Keanu replied. Then, once you're ready, you'll assist with testing and implementation. It won't be easy, but it'll be worth it. Ethan grinned. I'm ready. Saying goodbye to the old life. Over the next few days, Ethan began transforming his life. He sold the Neolux Emporium back to Keanu for a fraction of its value and donated the proceeds to charity. He stopped throwing extravagant parties and instead focused on meaningful projects. His friends noticed the change and started treating him differently, not with fear or envy, but with respect. One evening, Ethan visited a local cafe where he often saw Keanu hanging out. As he sipped his coffee, he spotted Keanu sitting at a corner table reading a book. Ethan approached him hesitantly. Hey, Ethan said, can I sit? Keanu looked up and smiled. Of course. Ethan slid into the seat across from him. I just wanted to say thanks for everything. If it weren't for you, I'd still be that spoiled kid who only cared about himself. Keanu closed his book and leaned forward. You did the hard work, Ethan. I just gave you a nudge in the right direction. Ethan shook his head. No, it was more than that. You showed me that true upgrades happen on the inside. That's something I'll never forget. Keanu nodded thoughtfully. Remember, growth is a journey. Keep pushing yourself, and you'll achieve great things. As Ethan left the cafe, he glanced at a poster on the wall advertising Keanu's latest invention. LUX9, changing lives, one step at a time. He smiled to himself, knowing he was part of that mission now. Looking ahead, Ethan's transformation wasn't complete. He knew he still had much to learn. But for the first time in his life, he felt purposeful. Instead of chasing wealth and attention, he focused on making a positive impact. Whether it was helping build sustainable energy systems or mentoring other young innovators, Ethan embraced every opportunity to grow. And through it all, Keanu remained his mentor and friend, a constant reminder that true strength comes from humility and a willingness to change. Months had passed since Ethan Cartwright walked away from Neolux Emporium, leaving behind the life he once knew. The spoiled, arrogant teenager was gone, replaced by someone who cared more about making a difference than showing off his wealth. Every day, Ethan worked tirelessly alongside Keanu Reeves and his team, learning how to use technology for good. It wasn't always easy. There were challenges, mistakes, and moments of doubt, but Ethan embraced them all as part of his growth. One crisp morning, Ethan stood on the rooftop of Keanu's research facility, overlooking the sprawling city of Neo City. The sun was rising, casting golden light over the skyscrapers and neon streets below. For the first time, Ethan felt like he belonged, not because of his money or status, but because he was contributing something meaningful. Enjoying the view, a familiar voice asked. Ethan turned to see Keanu walking toward him, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Ethan and leaned against the railing beside him. "It's incredible," Ethan replied, taking a sip of the warm drink. "I used to look at this city and think it was just a playground. Now I see it differently. It's full of people who need help, people we can make a difference for." Keanu smiled. "That's the mindset I was hoping you'd develop. You've come a long way, Ethan." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, I guess I have. But honestly, I couldn't have done it without you. You taught me that being rich isn't about having money. It's about using what you have to improve lives. And that's exactly why you're ready for this next step," Keanu said, his tone serious yet encouraging. "Next step," Ethan repeated, raising an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "A new mission." Keanu pulled out a small tablet and tapped on it. A holographic map of Neo City appeared, highlighting several areas marked in red. "These are districts struggling the most," Keanu explained. "High poverty rates, limited access to clean water, and outdated infrastructure. We've been working on solutions. We need someone on the ground, someone who understands both the tech and the human side." "You want me to lead this project?" Ethan asked, surprised. "Are you sure? I'm still learning." "That's why it's perfect for you," Keanu replied. "You'll be surrounded by experts who can guide you, but the decisions will ultimately be yours. This is your chance to prove not only to us, but to yourself that you're capable of leading." Ethan hesitated. The responsibility felt overwhelming, but deep down, he knew he was ready. "Okay," he said finally, "I'll do it." Keanu clapped him on the shoulder. "I knew you'd say yes. Let's get started." The first step. Over the next few weeks, Ethan threw himself into the project. He visited the struggling districts, speaking directly with residents to understand their needs. He met families living in cramped apartments, children studying by candlelight because they didn't have electricity, and elders struggling to carry water from distant wells. Each story touched him deeply, reinforcing his determination to help. Back at the lab, Ethan worked with engineers and scientists to design practical solutions. They developed solar panels that could power entire neighborhoods, portable water purifiers that fit in backpacks, and affordable housing units made from sustainable materials. Ethan oversaw every detail, ensuring the technology was accessible and easy to use. One evening, as Ethan reviewed blueprints late into the night, Keanu joined him in the lab. "How's it going?" Keanu asked. "It's challenging," Ethan admitted, rubbing his temples. "There's so much to consider: costs, logistics, implementation. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough." Keanu sat down beside him. "Progress takes time, Ethan. Don't expect perfection right away. Just focus on moving forward, one step at a time." Ethan sighed. "I know. It's just, I feel like there's so much riding on this. If I fail, those people will suffer. And if you succeed, their lives will change forever," Keanu reminded him. "Trust yourself. You've already proven you can handle tough situations." Ethan nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "Thanks, Keanu. I needed to hear that." Changing lives. The day finally came when the first phase of the project launched. Ethan traveled to District 7, one of the poorest areas in Neo City, to oversee the installation of solar panels and water purifiers. As workers set up equipment, Ethan wandered through the streets, talking to residents and answering their questions. An elderly woman approached him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for bringing us light," she said softly. "My grandchildren will finally be able to study after sunset." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "It's my pleasure. I wish we could have done this sooner." Later that evening, as the sun set, the district lit up for the first time in years. Children ran outside, laughing and marveling at the glowing streetlights. Families gathered around tables illuminated by lamps powered by clean energy. Ethan watched it all unfold, tears streaming down his face. For the first time in his life, Ethan truly understood the meaning of fulfillment. Money and gadgets had never brought him this kind of joy. Seeing the smiles on people's faces, knowing he had played a role in improving their lives, that was priceless. A final lesson. Weeks later, Ethan returned to the cafe where he and Keanu often met. He spotted Keanu sitting at his usual table, reading a book. Ethan slid into the seat across from him, grinning from ear to ear. "How's the project going?" Keanu asked, closing his book. "Better than I ever imagined," Ethan replied. "People are already seeing improvements. It feels amazing to know I'm actually helping." Keanu smiled warmly. "I'm proud of you, Ethan. You've grown into someone I admire." Ethan shook his head humbly. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance. You showed me that true upgrades happen on the inside." Keanu leaned back in his chair. "Remember, this is just the beginning. There's still so much work to be done. But now you have the tools and the heart to make a real difference." As Ethan left the cafe, he glanced at the poster on the wall advertising Keanu's latest invention, Helu X9, changing lives, one step at a time. He smiled to himself, knowing he was living proof of its message. A new beginning. Ethan's journey was far from over, but he no longer feared the future. He had transformed from a selfish teenager into a compassionate leader, driven by a desire to uplift others. Whether it was building sustainable communities, mentoring young innovators, or simply lending a listening ear, Ethan dedicated himself to creating a better world. And through it all, Keanu remained a steady presence, a mentor, a friend, and a reminder that humility and empathy were the keys to true greatness. As Ethan walked away from the cafe, the city lights twinkling around him, he felt a deep sense of peace. He wasn't just Ethan Cartwright, the spoiled rich kid anymore. He was Ethan Cartwright, a force for good, a testament to the power of change, growth, and second chances.